good early morning from a dark and relatively quiet Sydney. Been in Sydney now for 3 days, only really filmed one of it. The other 2 days were taken up with wedding stuff. But now that my brother is all married, it's time to actually get back into touristing. Today it's a big family road trip. We are leaving Sydney, got about a 3-hour drive out to Canberra. But before we do that, we've got to get out into the suburbs where my brother lives. Let's go. First step in this journey is the heavy rail, taking a train here from Town Centre, Town something station. It's really cool because there's 2 levels of platforms. So there's trains down here and trains up there right on top of each other. And then on the street, there's trams. So many trains. This is way better than America. You hear that? These birds are so loud. Just no. So I've almost made it to my brother's house. In an effort to avoid doxing him, I'm going to stop vlogging and I'll see you in Canberra. Cheers.
The best place to live isn't necessarily the best place to visit as a tourist. It's true where I live, and so when my family chose to come visit me last year, we ran out of stuff for them to do after just 2 days. We ended up road tripping to somewhere more exciting. Apparently the same is true of Sydney, so my brother put together a trip. It really does take a lot of work to balance everyone's desires. Literally weeks of planning, booking, getting frustrated at the lack of feedback from your family, changing your mind, rebooking, and then repeat that ad nauseum for weeks. For the first time, my job was simply to turn up early enough to his house that we'd beat traffic. I can do that.
Quick stop off at a servo to get some snacks and take a little pee.
I didn't envy my brother for this one. There were some factors, perhaps, that made planning this road trip easier than some I'd planned in America. This time there were only 7 of us, not the 9, and a dog that we had during Merryfest 2024. This meant we could get away with hiring a minivan instead of a full-on transit van. We ended up with a Kia Carnival from Hertz. It was fine. Hotel rooms for 7 people and no dog are much easier to procure, and we weren't tied to places and times with Hilton team member availability. Personally, I'm disgusted if I pay more than $60 for a hotel room these days. But there are factors that make it harder. There's Australian driving regulations that meant my brother still had to display P plates indicating he's been driving for less than 3 years. And many rental places won't even accept those provisional licenses. Also, he had a wedding to plan at the same time. I get that those things are pretty easy to organise with absolutely zero stress, but it probably didn't help. His goal was to get into the outback and show us some small Australian towns along the way. This first part of the road trip was a 3-hour jaunt over to Canberra, which is neither outback nor small, but with plentiful museums it would make a good jumping off spot for adventure. Three hours in a car with no brakes is a long time. 3 hours in a car with my family is an interminably long time. So we pulled over in Goulburn to break our journey and maybe grab a snacky snack and admire a big-ass sheep.
How very privileged I am that I get to climb a giant sheep for that amazing view of the Bunnings warehouse. Australia's big things are a little bit underwhelming. I was getting ready to complain that kids have the coolest shirts, but then I came across this one. Ed Sheeran. To be fair, he's a pretty big boy. Nice little sheepy. Today I get to experience 2 different parts of Australian culture. Big things and pies. The big thing, pretty big.
Pie? Let's find out. I was advised to come with low expectations for white people food in Australia. Coming from America, where we've given up so many of our British staples like proper chips and handheld steak pies, like those available here at Trappers Pies, I was left pretty happy, because I basically flew 10,000 miles to feel nostalgic about a Greggs. I don't want this turning into a sob story, but we grew up poor. While my brother and I are now both solidly middle class, having left the old country and emigrated to the colonies, we didn't grow up in a house with access to a car, and so we didn't have the opportunity to learn to drive in the UK. As someone who was forced to learn in the USA, I really regret that. From the time I was eligible for a learner's permit to when I got a full driver's license was less than 2 weeks. During the test, I literally ran over the cones. I still passed. Sadly, I'm probably still one of the better drivers in Atlanta. It absolutely scares me that I was given a license as easily as I was. Whereas my brother has to drive for 1 more year before he's even allowed to drive at the actual speed limit. Australia does seem to be more on the UK end of the learning to drive spectrum. Sydney drivers were aggressive, sure, but it appeared to be a calculated aggressive that comes from actually understanding how to drive. Atlanta drivers are aggressive, but what I mean by that is that they'll pull a gun on you if you honk at them because they merged into you at 130 miles an hour from your blind spot, without indicating, in the rain, at night, with no lights on at all. F*** you is why. The motorway driving to Canberra was refreshing. Watching drivers actually return to the driving lane instead of cruising in the passing lane for the entire journey, simply amazing. Well done, Australia. Driving into Canberra, my brother and his wife both commented on just how little traffic there was. It's a Monday morning, and roads should have been jam-packed with all the federales going to work. It wasn't until our second stop of the day, when we found that we couldn't pay for parking at the meter, that we realised we'd somehow managed to time our visit to be on Canberra Day, a public holiday in the Australian Capital Territory. Unfortunately for us, this meant that while the Royal Australian Mint was open to tourists, they weren't actually doing any minting. Still, free is free. And I got to meet Roxy, Australia's first ever coin-packing robot. Plus, as a self-described person who is easily distracted by shiny objects, I really enjoyed seeing all the coins.
Oh, look at all your little coins.
That's the worst coin I ever did see.
The highlight of the museum is the self-minting machines. For the low cost of $3 Australian, you can push a button that causes the machine to stamp a brand new $2 coin. It's all the thrill of Las Vegas. With our minting fun over, it was time for the next stop, the National Museum of Australia.
Just got done touring the Royal Mint, and now we're at the National Museum. Gotta say, I'm just like halfway through the first exhibit, and this museum is pretty neat.
My impression on the day? Pretty neat. Sums this museum up well. For the price, which like the Mint, is free, it really can't be beat. The only downside from the day that we visited is that one of the 3 permanent exhibitions was undergoing refurbishment, and so we missed out on that. The building was incredibly well designed, and the exhibits did a great job of balancing the 2 histories of Australia, that of its Aboriginal people and what came after we turned up and ruined the place. Definitely recommend next time you're in Canberra. We've done museuming, and now we've stopped at some kind of shopping mall for lunch. Alright. Ate lunch at some place called Oporto. Does like chicken sandwiches. It was absolutely okay. Next stop on the tourist train is the Australian Parliament. Cool. First impression is that Australia is not as up itself as America is. A lot less fancy. Yeah, it's still no US state capital, but I mean, this roof's pretty cool. Well, we've done touristing for the day, so let's go play some mini golf.